Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So today we do have a hot location, and for those of you that don't know, hot locations are locations that appear in 60% of the games for that day. Hot locations are only in place for one day. Featured locations are in place for 2 days, and they occur in 40% of games. And so today's hot location is Sinister London, and so that means that you can duplicate your cards. You can do a lot of really crazy cool things, and there are a lot of decks that I thought about right off the bat whenever I saw this. Something like a Dracula discard, because then you're going to have two Draculas on the board. He can discard twice, is going to be great. Something like a Spectrum ongoing buff deck is going to be amazing because you can duplicate that Spectrum buff to give yourself a better upside across the board. This even gives us the potential for a mill deck because you can play your cards into Sinister London. You can play your Yondu into Sinister London. It will burn 2 cards. Your Cable will burn 2 cards. Most likely your Mantis will only get 1, but you can still mill the opponent's deck really quickly with this location. But I'm not going with any of those types today. Today, we are going with my personal favorite archetype that usually doesn't do that great, but it is a junk deck. It is a have some crap deck. It is a flood their side of the board deck, a deck of many names, but in essence, we are sending them as much stuff as we can to clog up their board to make it hard for them to do their cool combos. And so what better time than with a location that duplicates the crap that we send them? And so if we send them a green goblin, that is going to send them 2 green goblins onto their side of the board. If they are doing the same, we can always send theirs back with Viper. Or I have a tech card in this deck of Beast. We can bounce it back into our hand. We can then replay it and send it back their way. And then of course our last turn Hazmat and Spider-Woman can all be duplicated as well, depending on the layout of the game and how it went. And so running through the deck list and how I built the deck really quickly, we have the Hood. He's going to be good to be able to be dropped potentially in Sinister London, but definitely outside. And then you can drop the Demon token in Sinister London to get 2 powerful 6-power demons. We have Hazmat. We are going to hold on to Hazmat till almost the very end of the game so that we can drop her along with like a Carnage, drop her along with a Spider-Woman to really negatively impact the opponent's side of the board and give us some upside. We want the total board power to be under 10 power per lane, and with Sinister London, we can definitely make that happen. We have Beast as our tech card. You could switch this out for something else. Typically we run like a Hobgoblin, but with Sinister London, the locations are going to fill up so incredibly quickly that usually by turn 5, you're not going to be able to reliably send a Hobgoblin to their side of the board. And so that's where Beast comes in. If we get flooded with our own stuff, if we run out of space to play, we can always drop a Beast to pull those back in and redrop them. If we want to redrop our Scorpion, we want to redrop Hazmat, Viper, even potentially Spider-Woman, we can do that by bouncing it back into our hand with Beast. We have Carnage. Carnage is going to be able to clear up our side of the board. So if they send us goblins, if we drop a double Debris, Carnage can eat those cards, clear up space for us in Sinister London to continue to play and duplicate our cards. We have Scorpion. Scorpion is going to be fantastic to duplicate. Not only is it going to impact their cards by -1, the duplicate will do the same, and so they are going to have a -2 swing for any card that they had in hand at that point in time. And then with us wanting to reduce their power level, with us wanting to run a Hazmat, a double Hazmat, Colossus is going to earn his spot in this deck list very easily. Colossus is not going to be able to be impacted by those negative power draws. So if there is a negative zone location, we can drop him in there. He becomes a 2-cost, essentially 6-power card. If we drop Hazmat, he then is essentially retaining an extra power, so he has another power point of board presence. We have Viper. Viper is going to send them more crap. If we can clog up and cap out their board, that gives us some really strategic advantages to be able to play cards where we need to shift our power so that we can win. We have Green Goblin. Green Goblin is going to be amazing. We can send him in the Sinister London lane and he will duplicate into another lane, and they will end up with 2 -3 power goblins. Another tech card in this deck list we went with with is Wolfsbane. If we have one space left in Sinister London on the last turn, we can drop Wolfsbane. She will trigger her own reveal, she will buff up, and then when she gets sent to another lane, it will re-trigger and rebuff her up again. So that second Wolfsbane is going to be a really, really large board presence for us. And then we have the amazing Debrii. So Debrii is going to add a rock to each other location for both players. Since we are running a deck list that either wants to destroy the cards on our side of the board, bounce them back into our hand, Debrii is going to be phenomenal at clogging up both sides of the board. We just know that we have tools to mitigate that downside. And then we have Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is going to afflict all enemy cards in that location with -1. If we play her in Sinister London, it's going to be a double drop. And most likely at that point in time, we're going to have those lanes capped out by the enemy. And so then we can make sure that she is a double 4 cost 8 power card that is on the board. And then closing out the deck list, we have Doc Ock. Doc Ock feels pretty good in this deck list. We are going to most of the time have their lanes almost capped out by turn 5. And if we don't, we can drop Doc Ock. That is going to pull the rest of their resources onto the board to finish capping out that location. And then we can know if we either need to abandon that lane or if we have it locked down. And so that is the rundown of the deck list. Let's go ahead and jump in and frustrate our opponents a little bit. Okay, so before we jump into the first match, I actually teched Beast out of the deck list before he even began. I forgot that we have unlocked Black Widow. Black Widow is going to be phenomenal. She's going to be able to send them 2 Widow's Bites, which either they have to hold in their hand and not draw any more cards, or they have to play, clog up their board even further, which is definitely not their ideal scenario. And so Black Widow is going to be phenomenal in this list, and I can't believe I almost overlooked her. All right, so first up we have Mac Beats, and our starting hand is okay. We don't have exactly what we would want. The Subterranea is a little bit tough, but we do draw into Scorpion, so we're going to go ahead and play him because we don't know if this location is going to be Sinister London or not, and we don't want to hold off our resources until it's potentially there. And so Scorpion is going to negatively impact 4 of their cards there. We do know that they're likely to draw into quite a few rocks over the course of the game. We would have thought we would draw into them as well, but so far we've been fairly lucky. I'm going to go ahead and drop Green Goblin this turn in Subterranea. Next turn, I will drop a Black Widow and probably a Carnage into, ooh, so they have a Debrii. They're running a junk style deck too. I thought I was going to be like cutting edge thinking of the double Debrii, but maybe I guess I wasn't. Maybe everyone was thinking what I was thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and use Black Widow and Carnage on the left-hand lane. That is going to prevent them from drawing this next turn. It is going to give us a decent power push in Subterranea, or an extension of our win, the amount that we're winning by in Subterranea. Ooh, and so they use a Morph, and it could have hit our Hazmat, it could have hit our Doc Ock, both of which would have been, I guess, okay. But definitely the Doc Ock would have been less ideal for us because it would have capped both of our locations out here. And so we are going to go with the Doc Ock into the Onslaught Citadel here. That is going to force them to cap out this location. They will only have 2 resources left. If they've drawn into any rocks, then they will no longer be able to play, or they will have those out on the board. And so we do win this location right now because this is not a token because we pulled it in directly. So we do have Onslaught Citadel locked down, and we have a pretty good lead in Subterranea at 9. We would end up doing something like a Colossus and a Hazmat and a Wolfsbane, something of that sort, so that we could extend our lead and lock down that second location. So very good game. And so another deck list that occurred to me that would be pretty good is any deck list that utilizes Venom, because Venom would then eat the first lane, the Sinister London lane. He'd retain that power and eat the next lane, so he would end up being like a 30 power card if you have some pretty good minions. So that could be a potential deck list or deck archetype that you wanted to focus on with Sinister London as well. And so the first location is Sinister London. We do have Debrii in our starting hand. They do send us 2 rocks into our deck list with Korg, but we are going to send them 2 Widow's Bites. By dropping Black Widow into Sinister London, that is going to prevent them from drawing. If they don't drop anything, that also maxes out their hand size. Ooh, and then they do the double Iceman, which hits our Debrii, which is unfortunate. and then it does kind of muck up our play of hazmat as well here. Okay, and so typically I would not drop the hood into Sinister London, but we do have a Viper, so we'll either send the hood or we'll send Black Widow, both of which are okay. And I'm not going to feel upset no matter which one it triggers or hits. And so we are going to go ahead and lock that in since our Debrii got locked up with the Iceman drop here. Ooh, and so they drop an Angela, a Widow's Bite, and then the second Widow's Bite. And so if we can cap out this location with a Black Widow, with the Viper, that's huge. It really, yes, there it is. It really limits their space of play. We only have to push 3 more power into the Isle of Silence or double drop hazmat. That's going to negatively impact them by 3 more than it impacts us each time it triggers. And so I think we have a really good shot here. We could do the double drop of demon here, which would send 4 demons onto the board, which is huge, right? And then we could drop Colossus, and I don't think we would have to worry about winning anymore. I think that would give us enough. We're feeling pretty confident. It might be more beneficial for us to hold the demon, at least one of the demons, leave a space open to drop hazmat, but I think the extra power push is going to be well worth it. Ooh, and so they're going to have a double. Oh no. They have an Infinite. We should have dropped our Debrii here on that last turn. They do have an Infinite. Had we dropped our Debrii here, it would have capped out this location. It would have almost capped this one out. We could have guaranteed the win here and here. Oh, we got greedy. Guys, we got so greedy. I'm going to go ahead and let it play out. I think they deserve to watch it come through. So we are going to go ahead and drop enough power here to win this location. But what does that look like exactly? And so this would be to tie the Isle of Silence. Oh, this isn't even the last turn, is it? Oh my gosh, no, my gosh, we could have done it. Oh, we could have just dropped Debrii. It wasn't the last turn. We're choking. We are choking. Oh no, it's so bad. It's so very bad. We're gonna go ahead and drop our Odin to give us the win in the Isle of Silence. They have 9 power now. They didn't skip on turn 5 like I thought they did. Oh my gosh. Victory. We need to go to bed or wake up, one of the two. Oh my gosh, what in the world? That was so bad. I don't even want to count how many misplays there were in that game. Sheesh. All right, so we're back again with Mustang Ross. And before we get too far in this game, I do want to give a shout out to a user from our last live stream. So the last live stream we did on Friday, there was a user that used the super chat feature, which is similar to super thanks on videos, where they generously donate an amount of money, which goes to help support me as a creator. It helps me upgrade my content. And so the user Akshay Sundarwani used the super chat feature to highlight their message. They suggested a deck list for us to try out, which we are kind of running in the background, but with the hot location, it doesn't work as well. But I did want to take a second to say thank you so much, Akshay, for the super chat from our live stream. It is very much appreciated. And so we do go ahead and send them a double goblin here, which isn't going to be great. More than likely, they are going to be able to destroy these cards in this lane. But on the off chance that they are not, we're going to do a double Black Widow, which will send them the Widow's Bites into their hand. Ooh, I wish we would have went with the Viper instead of the Hood. I second guessed myself right at the end there. Unfortunate, definitely unfortunate, but we are going to be able to do the Viper. I think we lose this game. I think we've mucked about a little bit too much. We're going to go ahead and do the Carnage, and then we're going to hold. We're going to hold out. We're going to see what they, We'll go ahead and play one of our demons into the danger room. We hope that we are able to, ooh, really? We do get the lucky Viper trigger, which is going to send them something in Sinister London. Where does it? No way did we end up hitting that. So it does send them the Hood in the middle. It sends them Colossus on the right-hand side. It clogs up and completely caps out their entire board. My goodness. Mustang Ross, you didn't deserve any bit of that. All right, next up we have Captain Cromulent. And the first location is Miniaturized Lab. So if the second one is the Sinister London, then it would allow us to guarantee where those duplicated cards go after this turn. But since we didn't, since the second one is the Bifrost, we are going to drop Scorpion. We are going to hold Black Widow for now. We're going to see what the next location is. And we drop Scorpion in the far left lane into the miniaturized lab, so that when it gets pushed over from the Bifrost, we'll still be able to drop all of the cards we want to in Sinister London. And so Sinister London is the next location. Typically, we would want to do something like a Debris, but that is not going to send them any cards into the miniaturized lab. So instead, we're going to go ahead and go with the Green Goblin, which we know will trigger here and here. It is more of a controlled junk send with miniaturized lab, because nothing can be added, moved, dropped, played, pushed into miniaturized lab. And so we are going to go with the Green Goblin here. They go with a Sunspot, which is okay. We send them 2 goblins on their side of the board. And then this upcoming turn, I think maybe we go with a Colossus and a Black Widow. We could always go with Debris, which is going to send them a piece of junk here and a piece of junk here to further clog up their board. I think clogging up Sinister London is going to be good. We're not going to get the increased upside of the rocks going into miniaturized lab, but that's okay. Right now we are just working on clogging their board. And so if this is not something that destroys these cards, and then it's a Cosmo. So had they had initiative, that would have turned first. And then our on reveals would not have been effective. But because we turned first, we did get to clog up their board, send them the rocks. We do know that we're going to win. They could skip here, and we would end up losing in Sinister London. But all we have to do is get above a decent margin here, and then push power here, and so we shouldn't have any issues finishing that game off. But they do end up retreating because they have such a limited space of play. But that is what the junk deck is designed to do. Oh my gosh, we are out here ruining fun today. All right, so next up we have the hype man himself. We have Rye Guy, who consistently stops by our videos, continues to hype us up time and time again. Just an incredible guy. And so Rye Guy drops a double Iceman, which is pretty huge. It hits our Black Widow, which we would have dropped this turn. It also hits our Debris, which we also would have dropped on turn 3. So we're not going to be able to drop either of them this turn. We're going to have to skip on turn 2 as well, which is really awful. Ooh, and then we get squirrels, and he snaps off of it. We're gonna go ahead and send them the, ooh, no, let's go ahead and do we go ahead and do a Viper here? If we do a Viper, just in case they didn't play into Sinister London, we can cap that out early, or we can force them to either not draw. Yeah, actually, we'll go ahead and snap back. I think the Black Widow is going to be a little bit better long term, because we are going to make sure that they can't draw cards, or if they want to draw cards again, they're going to have to play 2 Widow's Bites onto the board. And so with only 5 spaces left, that is very difficult to do. Do we try to send them a Green Goblin? I think the locations are a little bit too capped out for that, to reliably send them something in Sinister London. So just in case, we're going to do a Viper, which could send it, but if not, that is okay. And then we're going to follow up with a Carnage to destroy the lane if we don't get the trigger of the Viper here. So we are going to go ahead and go with that instead of the double Debris. Ooh, and they use a double Debris, which caps out the far right lane, which is kind of unfortunate. But for them, it caps out their entire location. Our Carnage is going to clear up Sinister London greatly for us. It's going to clear up the big house greatly for us. They do win Central Park, but we are going to be able to push so much power into these 2 locations. And so we are going to go with the double Hazmat and the double Wolfsbane, which is going to be huge. And then on the last turn, we will go with a double Spider-Woman as well. It looks like Rye Guy was thinking very similarly to what we were running, but we are going to be able to, if they stick around, we're going to be able to play out the rest of the combo with the Hazmat, with the Wolfsbane, with the double Spider-Woman drop here, just overly impacting their board in a very negative way. So they do win Central Park, but we lock down the other 2. Very good game, Rye Guy. Very nice strategy. I liked the Iceman. That really clogged us up and disrupted our flow. The mojo is pretty good because most locations are going to be capped out. And then, of course, the Debris to cap it the rest of the way out. We just got the upside of having the Carnage that came in right at the right time. All right, so next up we have Maxwell Lord, and they have been giving us a heck of a time all day. When we've been playing and passing, we've matched up with them probably 2 or 3 times, and it's been very back and forth. Ooh, and here comes the Iceman again, which is phenomenal for Sinister London. It really disrupts a lot of what we are wanting to do. So it does hit our Scorpion at least once, so it's going to delay that by at least 1 turn. Do we drop the double Colossus here, or do we hold out for better cards? I think we are going to do the double Colossus just in case we end up doing the double Hazmat as well. That way we get an additional upside from each time the Hazmat triggers. Okay, and then Shadowland comes through, which is not great. We will use the increased cost Scorpion to negatively impact their cards. So if they are running something with Hit Professor X because of the Daredevil or maybe the Goblins, the Goblins are actually really rough there though, because if they have a Hobgoblin, we just gave them the golden ticket by giving it a further negative power level. And so we are going to go with the Carnage here, or do we aim to clog up their board entirely? But I don't think that works great for us. We're going to have to go with the Carnage. We're going to try to clear up this mess of a lane a little bit. Because of the Green Goblin, that clogs us up a decent amount. We don't have a Viper to send it back. I think we need to drop our Carnage here. Ooh, and then they get us with the double Black Widow drop, which is really unfortunate. If Carnage goes here, that is unfortunate as well. It would have been a much better upside to go into Shadowland here. And so they have the Daredevil. They do know what we're going to drop, or they will know. I don't think we go for any more draws. I think we're going to go with a Doc Ock. We're going to hold on to the Widow's Bite. The space is just too important. In this game, it would be nice to draw into a Spider-Woman. It would be nice to draw into some of our other resources, but I just don't think we have that luxury this game. We're going to go with the Doc Ock. They may potentially lock down a location, but if they have a Professor X, it only has 1 power. We're going to pull in the rest of the cards onto the board. So if they drop Professor X here, we still pull their cards first since we flip first. And so if they lock down one of these other lanes, we have the chance for our Doc Ock to go into that lane. But of course, if they duplicate a Hobgoblin, that will cap out this location, and it could be the end of us and the end of this game. We would end up having to retreat. And so they do drop what I can only assume is a Hobgoblin. Ooh, and so they pull into Leader, which doesn't do them any good. We pull into the rest of their cards here, which one is Ghost Rider, not great for them. Ooh, and then the Hobgoblin comes down in this lane. So this one is not a Hobgoblin. They drop a Hulkbuster to ensure that they have a space left available. Beautiful play. And so then the Leader actually does trigger at that point into our Wolfsbane. So we do win Sinister London somehow by some grace. All we have to do is get 2 more power in this lane. And so we'd be able to drop Hazmat here. We'd be able to drop Debris here. That would give us a 4-point swing in the Limbo location. So Maxwell, that was so incredibly well played. Those card techs were beautiful. The Hulkbuster to clear up an additional space in Sinister London, anticipating people capping it out, phenomenal. The Hobgoblin following the Daredevil, that -10 Hobgoblin was so incredibly scary. But we're gonna go ahead and move on. All right, so next up we have, I don't know if that's Dude of War or Do of War. And we are going to pass on the first turn and then hope for Sinister London. We don't have a great Sinister London hand. And maybe it's that we need to readjust maybe the Hood in this deck list and put an Iceman. Iceman was so phenomenal at disrupting our flow. So we are going to go with a Colossus here in the Sinister London lane. Next turn, we're going to be able to do double Green Goblins. Ooh, and so they have Bucky Barnes. So they are running a Destroy style deck list. That makes sending them stuff like a Green Goblin kind of difficult. And so we do pull into the Hood here. Maybe we do the Hood and we do Black Widow. That will clog up their hand. They're not going to be able to draw new cards. Next turn, we can drop our Carnage, which will destroy this and this. It'll clear up space for us. We can double drop our Demons and then kind of see where we're at from there. I think that's what we're going to go with. I think they most likely destroy this lane at this turn. And so I don't think the Green Goblin would be the play. And so they do a Nova, which goes into Xandar and then the Carnage. And so we would have ended up sending them an additional resource to buff up their Carnage further. And so that is okay. And so far we are 6-0 with this deck list. So it is probably about time that we run up against an opponent that we don't end up beating. But hopefully that is not this game. So do we think they run something else? Do we think they cap this lane out? Because if we can send them something here and potentially here, then that's great. But if not, then we end up regretting it, right? So I think we do the Carnage here. We hope that the Carnage duplicate goes over into Xandar. And then I think maybe we play one of our demons into Hell's Kitchen just to push a little bit of power. And then we save the other one to either potentially duplicate or see what we need to do from there. And we took a little bit too long, so they snapped on us. But we're gonna go ahead and lock this in. They may very well have us here. I think we played out to C. Ooh, and so then they dropped the Venom, which is huge in Sinister London. I mentioned it in one of the other games, but Venom is going to retain that power level as he moves over into the other lane. So absolutely phenomenal. That becomes a like 20-something power lane, a 30 power lane, which is so incredibly difficult to beat, right? Like it is almost untouchable at this point. Our best bet is winning Hell's Kitchen here. Right now we have 12, which is a decent power push. I think we're gonna go ahead and roll the dice with a Doc Ock. If we can finish capping out Sinister London and it's a non-beneficial lane for them, maybe we can get some upside in like a duplicated demon, a Spider Woman, a Wolfsbane. Maybe we can get lucky here. So we are going to go with the Doc Ock. That is going to pull into the rest of their cards here. He is not going to duplicate, but that is okay. We don't need him to go into Xandar. They only have 2 cards left, so we do cap out the Limbo location. We pull into Forge and we pull into Deathlock, which is beautiful. The best thing that we could have hoped for. There, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And so now I think they end up retreating because of that huge swing. Do we do a demon here? Which lane do we compete for? I think if they have a card, it is a death, right? Because this style of deck list, it looks like they would potentially have a death. So if I was them, I would drop it in Hell's Kitchen. We do have a 6 and a 7, so that's going to be another 14 power push. I think that is going to be best for us. And then we'll go ahead and drop our Scorpion here just to push a tiny bit of power. We have two turns remaining, actually. We have 2 turns remaining. They only have 1 card in hand. We are going to send them, do they cap out Hell's Kitchen or not? We are going to drop the Green Goblin into Limbo. I almost want to drop it into Hell's Kitchen, but that just doesn't feel like it's going to work. So we'll drop the Green Goblin and we'll drop the Scorpion just out of good measure if they don't drop their card here. So we could have capped out them in Hell's Kitchen with the 1 card that they retained or held in hand. So we do increase our upside in Limbo. So now I think we get some more upside. We turn first, so the 7 power is going to match what would happen with Spider Woman here. We could do Spider Woman here. I think that benefits us the absolute most. We're going to be able to push 7 power here, which would beat a death if that's what they draw into or if that's what they dropped. And so let's go ahead and lock that in. Let's see the rest of the game here. Let's see if they did draw into death. When they drop something into Xandar, which, I mean, they're already winning that one by so much. Ooh, the Forge. Oh my gosh, they came back and won it. What a whirlwind of a game. Do of War, I can't even be mad at that. We made a misplay in not dropping the Green Goblin and capping out Hell's Kitchen to lock in that upside. If we are going to go down, that is how I want it to happen. That was so much fun. Oh, there were so many ups and downs. We are going to go ahead and end on that note. We don't typically end on a loss, but that one was so that one was so close, so back and forth. Like they had all of the right cards, all of the right resources. We had all of the right counters, all of the right counterplays, except for up until that very last turn. Oh my gosh, fantastic game. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. We will happily end with a 6-1 record. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know what deck lists you are running for the Sinister London location. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been TLSG. Later, guys. I know I already ended the video, but we do have a card variant that I wanted to share with you guys as I pull it. What do we get? a pretty cool looking Mojo. We use Mojo in a few deck lists, so that's going to be pretty cool. We're gonna put that to good use. Now we're gonna go ahead and end the video. Later, guys.